Here's the thing, Brian, and I mean this lovingly, you can't bullshit me. If we go into why you left Westlife.
Irish boy band Westlife has announced that Byrne McFadden is quitting.
I still don't know why you left.
And do you know what the thing about it is?
If it wasn't because we fell out, it was a complete shock to us when he left the band.
Westlife!
How much did the fame and the money change us? 20 years ago, 5 months and 1 day ago, my next guest walked out on Westlife. We had to protect ourselves. Will you ever change?
No, why would I?
I'm so annoyed. When did you and I lose that bond, do you think?
For the first 3 years, the only people I could depend on was the 5 of us in that bubble.
Well, it's the first time, in fairness, we've sat down and talked about it.
And we decided to do it in front of everyone.
Westlife.
Years ago, 5 months and 1 day ago, my next guest walked out on Westlife. Hopefully now we're a lot older, wiser and mature enough to sit down and right the wrongs and clear the air. Brian McFadden is on the HQ!
20 years, 5 months, but who's counting?
It took me 2 hours to get that together last night. But listen, you're very welcome. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I really, really do. But before we start and get into all the juicy stuff, how are you? How's Danny? How's Ruby? How's Molly Lily? How's everybody?
Everyone's good. Yeah, me and Danny are great. We're over in Ireland for a couple of weeks. As usual, it's a couple of weddings.
Lovely.
And I have Ruby here. And Molly and Lily now, of course. Molly's been living with my mum and dad down in Artane for must be 5 or 6 years now, and Lily's just moved just in the summer now as well. So I've 2 of my daughters living in Artane and Ruby with me. So.
And what are Molly and Lily's ages now?
Molly's 23 in a couple of weeks, and Lily's 21, and Ruby's 3.
Wow.
Starting again.
And what, Molly, Lily, they work and then college, what do they do?
Yeah, Molly's in the Lear. In Trinity College doing acting.
Sorry, we at Christmas time, did Molly tell you? No, Malahide Castle.
She said she bumped into you,
Gia, we went to see Santa Claus and she was helping Santa Claus out in Malahide Castle, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, she's good. And she it's just really weird because obviously they were both born here in Dublin. And then when they moved back with Kerry to the UK, they obviously, wherever they live, so they've lived in so many different places. They live down south.
Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of 8 to 9 period, they had this kind of a south, you know, an English London accent, you know. Then they moved up north to the Warrington area, and then they had proper northern accents. And now you talk to Molly, she's like, how you da? What's the story? Did you have a nice flight? Yeah, lovely. Do you want a cup of tea? It's just mad.
But it's mad because they're like the age of just, they're women now. They're living their own lives. They're doing their own thing now.
Well, here's a mad thing. Molly is nearly the same age as I was when I left Westlife. How weird is that?
You left Westlife? Not really. Too soon. Too soon.
I'm actually still in it. I just didn't realise. Just late.
Right. Let's go back to where it all started for you. I'm Baldoyle, North Dublin.
Yeah.
You're Artane.
Yeah.
So what was childhood like?
Childhood in Artane was deadly. And, you know, I always talk about this now. And you look at the state of the world now and the way things are. And I feel sorry for Ruby, right? And I think about what her childhood is going to be like. You remember growing up in the 80s and 90s. It was, you know, coming home from school in the afternoon, first thing, out the door, playing football on the street. When did you know when to come home? When the street light came on, that's when you had to come straight home. And little exciting things like going to the cinema at the weekend or going down to Extravision to get a video. Do you remember all those little exciting things that we used to do?
Do you remember the Extravision? You have your little card. You had to have your number.
Yeah.
And you get fined if you didn't bring it back on time. And then if you didn't have it rewound back to the start, that was another one.
Yeah, you didn't rewind it. You get another fine.
Or you were waiting for the latest one, like Terminator 2. Sorry, it's not in. They still didn't brought it back yet.
And you're standing there waiting. I remember it wasn't Extravision. There was a place down in Artane round the corner. It was smaller than the studio. It had one wall here and a little wall here and a bloke here, and Rocky Ford come out. I'll never forget it. And me and my friend Eddie, we went down and there was 4 copies of it, and you know you'd see them up behind. You're like, no! And we sat there for 2 hours waiting for someone to bring it back, and eventually he brought it back and we ran home and watched it. But kids today don't understand that excitement. They won't even watch ads anymore. They're straight in. So to me, I think back of growing up in Dublin, and you know, if I could get a time machine, I'd love to go back and relive it all over again.
Well, what moment would you specifically love to live again in?
Italia 90.
Right, okay.
Do you remember the excitement in Italia
stop.
90? I remember just the happiness everywhere. I remember when we beat Romania and my dad took us into O'Connell Street and we were sitting on the bonnet of my dad's car as he was driving along and everyone was there with their flags and there was just this huge high around the town. I just miss those days so much. But even little things like going down to Trebalgan on our holidays every summer, you know, and it's 1 week of the year. Yeah. But from January till it happened in June, I'd just be counting the days, the excitement. And it just feels like the world's kind of lost that little bit of people appreciating the little things.
Is that though because we're just getting older? Is that, or do you think the world genuinely has changed beyond recognition?
I think it's changed beyond recognition. You know, I think technology has made a huge part of it, you know, and people always talk about mental health and stuff like that. And I think the reason that a lot of kids and people in general are suffering from mental health is because of things like Twitter. Yeah. You know, like I wake up in the morning and I use Twitter for my news, you know. I don't tweet, but I read it to see. And you just wake up in the morning, it's just like people are just talking about misery and bad things and
I don't use
people
Twitter
attacking
at all
each
anymore.
other. I don't
I
tweet.
loved it for years. I loved it. Now it's really, you're right, it has become like a kind of news forum, so to speak. Yeah. I'll glance at it every so often. If something major happens in the world, on Twitter you'll always get kind of bird's eye view of somebody who's there. They might use it. But if you go back in the day when I actually liked it, you were always in Twitter spats. You were always, and you did love it, didn't you?
It was great crack. Well, you know what it is, Nicky, because for so long, people would talk about us in the press, right? And we never had a voice. Yeah. We never had a voice. It was always like, he's this, he's done that, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, Twitter kind of gave us the power that a journalist had. Yeah. So if there was something in the, especially at the early days when I was in Australia, if somebody said something about me, I'd talk about it and I go, well, just so you know, that's not true. And it felt so satisfying to have that power in your hands. You know, it was like you'd taken the gloves. It pretty much was. It was like, you know, I was so used to just, for years and years, we took so many punches on the chin and never got to throw a punch back. Because what would you have to do? You'd have to go and find a journalist and do a story. It was like, we just didn't do that. Yeah. And if there was things every day, you know, after a while, there'd be 10 things said about you and you might reply to one. And after a while, you just get fed up and you just take it. Yeah. You know, so, that's my phone. I beg your pardon.
No, go ahead. No, do you want to answer?
No, it's Connor.
Who?
He just probably heard I was down in Malahide getting a coffee.
I thought it was Shane or Keane or Mark going, what's going on here, lads?
They don't have my number. I think you're the only one that has my number.
Oh, funny.
That's too expensive to text from Sligo.
So with the Twitter stuff, do you have a specific, what's your biggest one that people still talk about, people still go, remember Brian said that, or the biggest kind of one you might regret? Or
there's loads I regret now, because at the start as well, it wasn't as big as it is now, and it has become pretty much like this is the forum now for journalists and for any kind of an outlet to figure out what they want to talk about. They just use your tweets. They don't even interview anymore. They just go, I'll just say what you said in a tweet. So I've obviously, there's been times when I lived in Australia and there'd be stuff said at home about me, whether it be to do with one of my exes or one of my ex, and it would infuriate me all the time. And then I guess it just got to a stage where I was like, I've had enough of this. And I'd say something. When I look back now and go, probably a bit harsh. He probably could have, you know, I always said they should have some kind of a facility for Twitter where you have to blow into something on your phone and it checks your alcohol level. And if you're over a certain amount, you're not allowed to tweet. That would be a great invention.
Yeah. No, I get that. Would that work? Yeah, you should go down that road.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, I haven't tweeted in a long time. Now all I do is I post Instagram photos of the kids or me playing golf. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. But yeah, look. But back then, you know, I guess I got a little excited of the fact that I could have a voice back. But I was very young then. That was not far off 15 years ago as well when that started. But no, listen, I'm older and wiser now, and it's great now because no one talks about me anymore anyway, so I don't have to talk back, which is great.
Let's go back to Artane. Did you play for St. Martin's football?
I played for Martin's, I played for Artane Beaumont, I played for Ellamount, and then in my later years I played for the Beachcomber.
So you have form with leaving teams and
no, it was dropped. The difference between leaving and getting kicked out.
Were you good? What position did you play?
I was always a number 9. I remember seeing Hugo Sanchez for Real Madrid, must have been in the late 80s.
Kicks.
Yeah, well, you know, he used to score a goal and then he'd do a flip. Yeah. So when I was about 8 or 9 and I used to play for St. Martin's in the mini leagues and stuff, when I'd score a goal, I'd do a cartwheel. And I always wanted to be Hugo Sanchez.
So you were doing the cartwheels before Robbie Keane was even doing cartwheels.
He copied me. Yeah. I had a little bit more form.
Do you remember the goal you scored? for Westlife.
I only showed someone about 3 days ago.
Is that on YouTube?
It's on YouTube.
Right, so what is it? So we'll get it checked here. Because I tried to find...
Brian McFadden goal.
Okay, Brian McFadden goal. Let's see this goal. Because I was playing midfield.
Yeah.
Someone hit a free kick over the top. You ran on.
Yeah, the big centre-half fell.
You flicked it over the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And you did a bicycle kick from 25 yards. It was okay, open goal.
Okay.
But to take that on, I thought, you nudge
No,
off.
but everyone kind of goes, well, why didn't you just take it down? You'd gone past the kid, why'd you take it down?
Because that wasn't you.
So, no, it wasn't that. It's because I was quite a big lad at the time. And I was running fast. And when I flicked it over, gravity just kept me dragging. Look.
You go, check this
Watch
goal
this,
out.
okay? So gravity just pulled me too far back. So the ball was behind me. And I could see people running at me. Now watch. So as I
Your first touch is terrible, by the way. Oh, that's lovely. There you go.
Still got it, never lost it.
Who's first to you?
Nicky.
Oh, no, it wasn't me.
It wasn't.
No, there
he
we
is.
are. There, look.
Look at him, come on. Like it was the World Cup final. Come on. I think that was to go 7-1 up or something.
That was in the stadium in
Malaysia.
the National Stadium in Malaysia. What a great night. Now listen, we're comparing goals. Come on.
Your goal in soccer road.
Nicky
You
Byrne,
joker.
soccer road goal. This
Have you got it?
I enjoyed everything. Do you know what I loved about this the most? I missed the penalty in the one a couple of years before that.
Yeah.
I just, even though we won that year,
And it
Woody
etched you.
Harrelson, it stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
And I thought, right, calm down. If you get an opportunity, you take it. Here we go. And it's against England. It's in Old Trafford. I'm a Man United fan. And I just loved every bit of this.
It's an absolute class goal.
Thank you. It was, I don't know, I think both of them are as good as each other.
No, because I'll tell you what, let's just see it first and I'm going to tell you what I felt about
So
this
that's
goal.
Cedar or...
Clarence Cedar? No,
that's not Cedar. That's...
with the glasses.
Edgar Davids.
Edgar
He knocks
Davids,
it back to me.
Here we go. Oh, that's Cantona all over. And you know what the best part is? It hits the top corner too. It didn't just dribble in.
It was like a postage. That it really was.
Yeah, you see, if this was the goal Olympics, I'd give it to you because, first of all, yours was playing against actual good footballers and legends of football. Mine was playing against some fat fellas from Malaysia who were in a rock band who didn't play football. Second of all, for where you get marks, like a gymnast gets marks, right? My ball bounced before it went in.
Okay.
So that's marks off.
Right,
yours hits the top corner. Look at this.
I hope you see it from behind the goal. Here we go. No, that's not.
Look at that.
One more. Skip ahead there.
Keep going.
Is this the one? No, it's the other angle that I mean, I watch this twice a day.
What a touch from Edgar Davids, by the way.
Yeah, I point. You don't see. I actually pointed to him.
Give
we go. This one. You'll see me point it there.
Yeah.
and then look. There. Look. Mourinho gone daft.
Unbelievable. Yeah, you see, I had Anto Byrne going mad on the side. You got Mourinho. But you know what I hate about that goal? Because for a long time, not only did I think, I reckon that goal I scored was probably the best goal scored in the world that day. And now I can't even say it was the best goal scored in Westlife. You stole that from me. It was like when I was over in Australia and they had a special award for a blonde-haired Irish guy who was a judge on a Simon Cowell reality show managed by Louis Walsh, and I came second to Ronan. I was like, I can't even be the best at that. Class goal, though.
I'll get into this later on. I'll just touch on this real quickly. After you left, right? I'm not going to go there yet, but after you left, do you remember the last gig we did? It was in Newcastle at it was a random, it was a corporate show. It was a random gig. We were on a tour bus on the way down, back from Newcastle to London or somewhere. But we used to play FIFA all the time.
Yeah.
And we used to play competitions. And I remember, do you remember this moment?
No.
I beat you in the game. So we used to sit like side by side on the tour.
Yeah.
The tour bus. I beat you in this game, and I went to bed thinking, right, champion, and we were having the usual banter, and you were, you know, when you lose those games, you're annoyed, but you have to kind of keep a little bit.
So I left.
Yeah.
That's why I left. You should have let me win.
So I get into my bunk, right, and Shane started playing, or Keane started playing, and you were like, you were hitting the buttons like this, right, and you were like, get out of bed and play me again, get out of bed and play me again, and I just kept going like that. Champion, you kept it up and up and up, and eventually I think Shane turned around and said, Nicky, just get out of fucking bed and play me again. So, but there's a truth behind this. I wanted to play it again, but I was afraid of getting out and playing again and losing, right? So I said, right, because he started, then the slagging would have started between us. So I said, right, I'm going to get out, I'm going to beat you again, right? So we get out, the big game started, right? All the lads are around the two of us.
We're selling tickets.
You scored You go 1-0 up, and these are like what 6 minutes.
How do you remember this?
I just because I won. So I equalised, and last minute might have been golden goal. I won, and rather than celebrate, I put the remote control down. I just shook your hand. I was, listen, thanks very much there, Brian. I get back into bed.
You fucking bastard.
So when you did leave a week later or something, I remember
You
thinking,
didn't think it was because of that, did you?
no, I didn't. But I did think, well, at least I'm the fucking champion now. He can never beat me.
Do you know what I should have done at the press conference? I should have put the mic down and go, thanks a million, Nick. Get back here and sing again, you fucker.
Right, Billy Barry for you.
Yeah.
When did that start? I mean, you were obviously playing football for numerous clubs. When did Billy Barry start, and how many times a week?
It started early. I started it when I was 4. And I think I did it for about a year when I was 4 or 5. And then I left and I joined back again then. Maybe I was 10 or 11. And then I did it right through till I was in Westlife. But it was like, to me, it was huge.
Was that your
no,
mum,
I wanted
dad?
to do it.
Did you?
I loved singing.
Right.
You know, and Susan was doing it as well. And obviously Susan at the time had done, she was in Annie. She played Annie in the Olympia for like a year. And I remember going to see her, and I just loved it. I loved, and because I'd go backstage to her, and I just loved the backstage of the theatre, looking at the wings and the stage, and I just kind of fell in love with the idea of performing, you know. And that's how it all started for me, was Billy Barry.
So even though my childhood was all football, and obviously my dad was in a cabaret band, loved singing, loved being on stage with him, loved, you know, kind of messing around the microphones and stuff, and always wanted to be singing. I remember singing E17 in my later years in the mirror with the bottle of fucking wax for your hair, links, yeah. But anyway, the toy show.
Yeah.
Even though I would have never admitted it, right? Watching the Billy Barry crew on the toy show annually was like, geez, they're having the best time. So how many toy shows were you on?
I can only remember one. I think I might have done 2, but I can definitely remember one, which was because it was all boys. They'd done a Grease medley.
Right.
So, and I was in that, and I'll never forget, I was probably 14 at the time, and that was the first time to do that. But you're right, even in Billy Barry's, because there's hundreds and hundreds of kids
so
in
only
Billy
a select
Barry's.
few get to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's not all of them.
Right.
It's they literally do auditions, and it goes on for weeks and weeks, and then they finally announce who the cast for the toy show is going to be. And it was the biggest achievement.
Yeah.
And like for the first couple of years I was there, I never got it, you know. And I remember seeing some of the guys that got it going, like, and they were. It was kind of weird. It was like a little clique of the star kids who you knew they'd go on to be in theatre and West End and stuff. And I was never up to that. I was always a little heavier as well, so I couldn't do the splits like they could, you know. But singing was always my thing, you know. That was my strength in Billy Barry's rather than my dancing.
What was that like then, being in a Billy Barry stage school, but then being in school with all the lads in R10? Did that go down well? Were you slagged? Were you bullied? Were you any of that?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, obviously we did get a lot of slagging for it. You know, straight away you're gay because you're in Billy Barry's. But to me, I didn't care, because I did it twice a week, and the family and friends that I made in Billy Barry's were far more important to me than worrying about what a load of blokes I didn't care about in school thought. You know, I had no friends in school because I had nothing in common with guys in school. You know what I mean? I when I came up in school, all I wanted to do was go to Billy Barry's. I wanted to sing, I wanted to dance. That's what I wanted to do. I loved my football, but as well, the 2 schools I went to didn't have a football team. So even my football friends were in St. Martin's or in Ellamount, you know what I mean, or Artane Beaumont. So I didn't have any friends in school that I would see outside of school. So to me, I didn't care.
So were you popular in school? Were you kind of...
I'd say I was well known. I don't know if you call me popular. No, I wouldn't have been popular, no. Definitely not.
Where did your ability to... a one-liner, a quick retort, where did that come from?
From school.
From being slagged?
Because I got so much stick in school. Yeah, we call you fat. I used to be called pineapple head, because whenever I used to have my hair tight, you see the shape of my head, it actually goes straight up like that. That's why I always have long hair on the top, to make my head look flat, when actually if you shave my head it goes straight up like that, like a cone head. Remember the cone heads? So I used to be called pineapple head, and grape ape. Remember Grape Ape, the cartoon?
No.
He had the head like that and he was big, so I was called fatso and all that. But you know what, it was the same slags for years and years. So what I started to do, I think where I got my one line kind of sharpness from is, it's horrible now when I think about it, but it was my only defense mechanism. What I do is, as soon as somebody come towards me, I would look at a flaw straight away. So before they'd even say anything to me, if I saw that a fella had big ears, I'd be ready to go with some joke about his ears, or if he had a big nose, or he had teeth, or he had bad hair,
would you only
whatever.
do that if he's like you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But the problem was, I'm ready for everybody, so I used to look at everyone. So my first reaction of everyone was always find a flaw in case they say something, which is really weird. But I guess that's what helped me.
That must have been very difficult when you met me, not being able to find anything to hit.
It was very, very tough. It was very tough. Well, you used to have dodgy teeth, but you got them sorted, you know. No, but you know, It's a thing I look back on, and it's horrible that I had to do that, because I hate that I used to look at people like that. But that's the only way I could kind of have a defense mechanism, is be armed.
Yeah.
So if someone says something, if you're quicker than them coming back, it just puts it back on them, and everyone else laughs at them, and then you move on. So it did stop after a while. Not many people slagged me for kind of 5th and 6th year. The slagging stopped in 5th and 6th year.
Right. Were you in many fights in school?
No. Got a few punches in the head, but no, I didn't fight.
Is that how the shape of your head is?
Well, maybe if I'd have got a few smacks in the back of the head, I might have shaped it the right way again, you know?
I love your dad particularly, but I love your mum and dad. How were you going? Your dad is so quiet, so do you think you get the sharpness from your mum? Your mum was always a bit feisty, wasn't she?
My mum has a quick tongue, let's just say, yeah. She's not afraid to speak her mind.
I remember when Kerry became pregnant with Molly, and you told me first. And then that night I was driving over to your house in Artane to pick something up, and I rang the doorbell and your mum answered. And I think I was the only one who knew. I was the only one who knew the
you were the
news.
first person to know, yeah.
And I wasn't going to say anything. It wasn't my news to tell anybody, like the boys I'm talking about here. And your mum went to get you, which went, well, what do you think of his news? And I went, yeah, well, like, obviously, congratulations. And I'm thinking, if I'm being honest, we're about to take on America next year. And I'm thinking, it's a bit mad, but I'm not going to. Anyway, I said, yeah, I'm delighted for him. She goes, well, I hope you are. I hope you're delighted for him. And I was like going, I don't even want to go into the house now.
Well, my mum, like things that my mum used to do, like for example, that first year when Kerry was over at the house for Christmas, we did a big family photograph, and she made Kerry stand on the end. She said, just in case when you break up, I can cut you out of it. And the thing was, everyone laughed, but she wasn't joking. She wasn't. That's my mum. She's
good
like,
foresight though, hey?
She's done it before as well. One of my cousins came into the house and she put on a bit of weight. And my mum goes, oh Jesus, you're pregnant. And she goes, no, I'm not. Right. So most people then would go, oh, mortified. She goes, oh, so you're just getting fat then. That's my man. Like most people would go, oh, I can't believe I just said that. Mum goes, oh, you're just fat then. That's my man. Just like that. Doesn't care.
So I can see where you got it from. That that ability to
absolutely
to go hard.
Just to go at it.
Right. So
I have to tell you about my dad though. I know we're going to cross over this again, but I have to tell you, the most upset person in the world the day I left Westlife was my dad. The day I told him, he was like, he nearly started crying. Yeah. Do you know why? Because he didn't get his 10 tickets to every night at the Point Depot anymore. Because every one of my tickets, we did 14 nights in the Point Depot, and my dad had 9 people with him every night from work. Because my dad worked for a pharmaceutical company. Yeah. So every chemist in Dublin, my dad's like, you're coming to see the boys, you're coming to see the... So he was like a host, like a concierge every night. He had 9 people, and he was devastated that was gone.
But you know, and it's gone now, years and years ago. But I actually did feel sorry for your dad in those days. I genuinely did.
Why didn't you give him tickets after I left?
He never rang me. He never rang. But I bumped into him. I did bump into him one day. He was out walking. I was coming home and I was on 2FM. I was driving back on the Malahide Road, and I saw him out walking just near the garage on the left. Yeah. And I pulled in. I hadn't seen him in 100 years. I pulled in. I went, Brendan. And he looked at me. Nicky. He was like, it was a lovely moment. I could nearly feel emotion from him, you know. Yeah. And I asked about you, obviously asked about your sister and your mum and everybody, and lovely man. So I did feel sorry for him at that time.
He was the most heartbroken, I think.
We'll go back there in a minute. He wasn't the only one heartbroken, but anyway, the audition. Well, before the auditions, right, for Westlife.
Yeah.
You were in a band called Cartel.
That's right, yeah.
So
with Tim and Dara.
So who were the boys? Where are the boys? Do you know? Do you keep in touch?
I believe. Well, the weird thing was just before we got into Westlife, I think Cartel was going to have to come to an end anyway, because Tim, his family were all Mormons, and they were moving. I think they were moving to Canada. Okay. So he was going with his family back to Canada. So I think the band was kind of going to be coming to an end, because basically what happened was, I was trying to get in touch with Louis Walsh to take up Cartel as a manager. And it was true. You remember Gary Kavanagh from Peter Mark? Yeah. So Gary used to cut my hair, and Gary said, I'll get you in touch with Louis. He says, you need to go and see Louis. So anyway, got his number, and I rang Louis. Remember, it used to be the landline. Yeah. And I rang up, and he's like, hey, yeah. Look, no interest in managing your band. I just want you to come and audition for my new band. And I was like, well, that's not kind of what I wanted to hear. And I was like, I'm happy in this band, blah, blah, blah. So then I went back and told the lads what you said. And they said, do it. He said, and then Tim told us his news. He was going back to Case. I'm going to Canada anyway. Okay. So the lad said, just go and do it. So that was when we went for that, because we didn't go for Westlife first. You remember it was a trad boy band, was it? Yeah. No, a guy who passed away recently, Noel Carty, put that together. Is he passed away? Is he? About a year, maybe 2 years ago. Wow. But he was putting a trad band together, and eventually was called Real. That's right. They supported us years later, I think. That's right. He wanted it to be sort of a cross between Boyzone and the Course. Yes. That was the kind of vibe with that Irish feel to it, which actually was quite a good idea. Yeah. Probably still would work. That's where I was going to ask you, that's where you
heard about these auditions?
Well, no, Louis then said, come down to
Come
this.
down to this.
But what everyone doesn't know is that Louis was doing it as a favour for Noel, and sneaky Louis was coming in and he'll go, instead of me auditioning the whole of Dublin and Ireland, he says, I'll just go in and pick the few best ones and bring them back after.
Yeah.
So it was quite a sneaky one from Louis.
It was.
Yeah.
So I remember you, but
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you what you remember of me. What was your first impression?
I remember you were the only person I was talking to at that thing, do you remember?
Yeah.
Because we ended up going out to Malahide that night. Your dad was singing.
Yeah, but before that, you came over to me. So I'm standing on my own.
Yeah.
And many people are all turning. You came over, and I often wondered why, out of hundreds of lads, did you come over to me?
Probably because of your vibe. I think everybody else was there, like they were auditioning to be in the Backstreet Boys. They were all wearing white vests and baggy pants and the whole lot.
You included.
Yeah, me included.
Yeah.
But I was still coming from a kind of a footballing background. And I guess when I looked at you, I kind of said, right, he's more, I guess you reminded me of me. You had the kind of same energy as me.
Right.
You weren't walking around, dancing and doing like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who were really trying hard.
Yeah.
And I guess when we started to talk, I was like, yeah, he's on our side of Dublin. He's similar vibe.
Yeah.
I
I remember my memory of you was I looked over, you're kind of sizing people up, and I do remember you being quite kind of sporty, basketball, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah.
And I remember being I was a Boyzone fan.
Yeah.
I didn't really care too much about the Backstreet Boys at that point.
Yeah.
But you were, although you appreciated Boyzone, you were more of a Backstreet Boys fan. Would that be right?
Yeah, because I kind of went, I think I was in a basketball jersey or something like
Yeah.
that. And were you wearing a
Black suit.
Black suit with a blue tie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And you looked like Ronan and I looked like one of the Backstreet Boys. And I think that's what worked for us.
Well, I'm glad you said it, because I was looking like Ronan and you were looking like Nick Carter.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wait, it was like it was fancy dress. I think that's what Louis said. Well, this is easy. There's our Ronan. There's our Nick. It's good. Forget these other ones. Who's this guy? Joe Dolan. No thanks. Let's go.
Do you remember what you sang?
I think I sang Gary Barlow, Forever Love.
Okay.
I did. I sang that. And we had, no, that was the second audition. We had to sing, was it Picture You? No, what was it?
So my memory of it was we had two options. We did a song called She Moved Through the Fair, the Irish ballad.
Yeah.
That Boyzone had covered. And
Right.
we had Father and Son.
I don't remember singing either of them.
Okay.
In the trad one, I only...
That was the trad one I'm talking about, yeah.
Could you sing your own song though as well? I think I sang
Listen,
Forever
Brian,
Love.
If you probably couldn't do whatever you wanted at that point, I'm sure you probably
I honestly, because at that time, my party piece was Gary Barlow's Forever Love. I'd sung it in, the Artane Recreation Centre?
Yeah.
They used to have a talent show on there, and I entered the talent show singing Gary Barlow Forever Love, and I remember getting kicked out because I was only 17 when I did it, and I was turning 18 in the middle of it, but because I entered it when I was 17, they wouldn't let me go. So that was my party piece song, Forever Love. I used to love that song.
Yeah,
Such a
it
great
is
song.
a great song.
So yeah, I just thought to myself, that's the perfect song to sing for a boy band audition. But I do remember when we came back then that we had to sing two, wasn't it? You had to sing, was it one of your own? And I thought we had to sing, was it not Picture of You?
I can't remember.
And then we had to dance. You remember that? You sang, then you went upstairs to the boys and they were all sitting around the thing.
Yeah.
Can you do harmonies? Do you remember?
Yeah, but see, this was interesting because you were brilliant at harmonies. You could pick a harmony out. I'm sure you still can, even better now. That quickly.
Yeah. That was my kind of...
I would have to learn a harmony over and over
Yeah.
again to because as soon as I'd be getting in a situation where somebody else was singing melody or something, it would be throwing me.
Yeah.
So melody for me was easy, but
Yeah.
harmonies were trickier. And I remember Louis and Keane really liking me,
Yeah.
and Shane and Mark really liking you. And I remember after in the second audition, there was only probably about 20 lads. I sang
They didn't
words.
even get through all the auditions. Remember, it was about 8 people had gone, and then he goes, it's okay, we found our guy. Because I remember Thomas Spratt, who was a friend of mine. Do you remember Thomas?
Yeah.
Lovely guy and brilliant performer. And he'd done some stuff with Louis. He'd done, I think, a Pepsi commercial and stuff with Louis. And I think Louis had kind of almost promised him that he was going to get the gig.
Okay.
And I think the way it was almost made out was that, just come to the audition, and we're doing the audition for the press, but you'll be thereabouts. And I'm not even sure if Thomas even got to sing. And I remember kind of the look on people's face. And remember Mark came over and said, "You two come over here." And you could see people, we haven't even got to sing yet. And it took me a second to realise they've got their guys. And I'm looking, it was me. I think it was only me and you left, was it? Just the two of us.
They shortlisted us down to the final 5.
No,
we
do
were
you know
2
what?
and then 2.
Do you remember the guy with the
Battle of the
surfer hair?
Blondes?
Do you remember the blonde
Yes.
fella with the big curly surfer hair?
Yeah, I often wonder what these lads did now. He wasn't a bad singer.
He was okay.
Do you know what his name was?
He looked amazing.
Do you know what his name was?
No.
Jerome.
Was it Jerome?
I had this conversation recently with Gary Barlow sitting right here. They had a similar situation where when they were putting Take That together, they were basically building it around Gary.
Yeah.
And they had Mark and they had Howard and they had Jason.
Jason, yeah.
And they were looking for one more and they held auditions. And Nigel Martin Smith said to Gary the night before the show, I found a guy in Stoke. You're going to love him. And Gary thought, oh, brilliant, we'll see him tomorrow, thinking there's going to be hundreds. And when they got there was only the guy from Stoke, which was Robbie, obviously, and there was one other guy. And they both auditioned. They both went. Everyone went with Robbie, obviously.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "Who's the other guy?" He said, "To this day, we still don't know.
Wow.
They've never found out who that guy
Love
was."
to find out. It's a bit like the boys on with Colin Farrell.
Yeah. And
Gas, isn't it?
who?
In fairness, though, I'd say Colin's all right with it though now.
And was it Ryan? No, was it Ryan Reynolds in Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
No.
Not
Oh,
Ryan
Gosling.
Reynolds. Gosling.
Gosling. Yeah, because he was a Disney kid.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
He was close to NSYNC, I think, and then never happened.
God, but did you remember at the start of our band as well? Though there was six. Was it six of us? No, there was six, then five. Remember we had Graham and Miggles.
Yeah.
I've seen Miggles a few times. He's a guard in town.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen him a few times. I was in a club one night and this guard starts walking up and says, "Oh, what have I done?" He goes, "How are you, Brian?" I was like, "No way, it was Miggles."
So when we got chosen, then do you remember moving to Sligo?
Sligo, yeah. Well, we hadn't got chosen yet because what it was there was Shane, Mark, and Nicky, or Cian, and Graham and Miggles and me and you, and then they decided at the time that Graham was going to be our tour manager, and he said, "Right, I'll step back, I'll tour manage the band, and we'll have the four lads, which was the three originals and Miggles, and then it was going to be either me or you."
Yeah.
And then Louis did the whole press thing, and it was like Ronan Keaton versus this. Remember, he had the two pictures,
The Battle of the
versus
Blondes.
Backstreet, but yeah, all of that. So you knew what he was doing, building it up. But obviously, then when we went down to Sligo, I think I stayed with did I stay with Cian and you stayed with Shane?
No, well, I originally stayed with Michael, who was I
Well, that's
replaced,
right. Yeah,
who I was
yeah,
about
yeah.
to replace. So I moved in with Shane then.
And then we started having, what was the place called again? The place where the boys started their first show, the hall, the
Hawkswell.
Hawkswell.
But there was kind of little talks in between saying
Yeah.
to me and you boys are going to have it and you're going to...
And we were like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
you know, back then, Brian, as well, like, you know, and as you sit here now, you are the only one in the world that went through
What you went through.
What I went through.
100%. So we're the only two people that have ever experienced that.
Well, that's true, like,
Yeah.
you know, and I often think about that going, and, you know, I suppose we had a common bond at that point.
Yeah.
We were both from Dublin. We were both joining a West of Ireland band, so to
Yeah.
speak.
We both thought we were boys from another band.
We both wanted to be in different boy bands. And then I suppose we would have had that common bond. When did you and I, not even the Westlife thing, where did you and I lose that bond, do you think?
Probably 3 or 4 years. I think for the first 3 years, maybe right up to the Greatest Hits album, I think it was just a roller coaster of high for us all, wasn't it? It was still, like, to be honest with you, from the day that me and you left Sligo, knowing that we were going to be in the band, from that day on was like waking up and you'd won the lottery every day. It was like Christmas Day every day, that excitement. I don't know if we ever lost our bond. I guess when you're that close in a band and I know it doesn't sound like long, but you know, it's 1,000 days, that 3 years, because we didn't have any time off. It was 1,000 days of in each other's pockets, traveling around the world, all around Asia. And we didn't have anything outside of that, because you remember it was the five of us. And for the first few years, we had Anto Byrne and we had security. And that was it. Like, we could never go and do anything. So we were in each other's pockets more than anyone else, like even than you would be with your wife or your kids.
Yeah.
And I think, not that the bond broke, but I guess when we started to come home and started to build other relationships outside of the band, and then you start to depend on other people, I think that's probably when, you know, because as I say, for the first 3 years, the only people I could depend on was the five of us in that bubble.
Yeah.
That was it. It was just us. So I guess when I went back to Dublin and I started to kind of try and build friendships again, because I lost a lot of my friendships when we started the band, and I'm sure you know the same. I've still got a lot of my old friends, but you know, you're at that stage of your life where you're 18, 19, the college years for most people, you know, and while everyone else was out kind of partying and drinking and meeting girls and stuff, we were, even though it was amazing, we were still on a plane, in a hotel, on a stage, just the five of us in a bubble. So I guess that we missed that. So I tried to rebuild a lot of those friendships and relationships when I came back. And I guess that's then when I started to probably depend more on some of the friends around me than my friends in the band. I reckon that's probably when, I wouldn't say the bond broke, but you know, for me, obviously, I was relying a lot more on other people then than just the people in the band.
you touched on something there when we left Sligo, and you're right. I think from the day we left Sligo, and our lives changed unimaginably.
Yeah.
Forever. Fame comes, even though it was on a very small scale at the beginning.
Yeah.
Then it goes really
But
big.
it was
global.
instant though, wasn't it? It was instant.
It was.
And I think that's the weird thing about this, because we knew that's why leaving Sligo, knowing we got in this band, was so different than anything else anyone's ever done, because people get in bands all the time, people do things, but we knew with the setup with Louis Walsh that it was going to be supporting Boyzone, smash hit. We knew that whoever got in this band, this was going to be big one way or the other. It was almost a guarantee in our head, because we knew the people behind it.
Yeah.
So I don't think many people would have that. Literally from the day we got it, was like straight away.
Do you think for all of us, but I'm asking you, how much did the fame and the money change us?
It's hard to tell, because you have to remember, we were only, I was 18 when we started.
I was 19, yeah.
Yeah, so we were already in a phase of changing, so it's very hard to say what we would have been like. You don't forget, you had that as well. You were playing for Leeds United. You had the aspirations of being a professional footballer, so you'd already had that start, and you must have already had a little bit of a change in your life before you even done the band. It's very hard to tell. If
I do remember that. I remember, because obviously I'd been in England for 2 or 3 years before that.
Yeah.
And I do remember then when we started travelling, most of us, apart from me, maybe one of us, or maybe you, I don't know, hadn't been out of Ireland before, hadn't been on planes, hadn't been, certainly not
been to London
beyond
once,
England. Anyway.
Yeah.
So when we started travelling internationally,
Yeah.
it was like, we're seeing the world.
Yeah. Those first few years were absolutely crazy. But even going to London was crazy.
Yeah.
You remember that first time we were staying in the La Reserve? Was the La Reserve the back of Chelsea's ground?
Yeah. That's still, I think that's still there.
It's still there, yeah. It is.
Do you remember breaking the one of us broke the wardrobe door wrestling? Do you remember that, fighting?
I remember lots of things from that hotel. I remember getting in trouble because I was up. Remember on
I remember this.
Remember late at night the go-kart.
Before scooters were scooters.
They were called go-peds.
It was me and you, and the police came over.
Yeah, the go-ped. It was middle of the night, and it meant the old days you'd sit and put the TV on. When all the programs were over, they used to have the infomercials on. The go-ped. And I was like, happy days. Picked up the phone, credit card number. Next day, Anto Burns going, what is that? And I was scooting around, and I got murder over that, because no one knew what it was. Because I was on the path with it.
It was like the scooters you see nowadays. Everyone has.
Yeah.
It was a petrol,
but it was like
powered, and it was like jumping on a lawnmower, except going 60 kilometers down the road.
But no one knew what the law was, so the cops didn't even know. They were trying to do me for going on the path, but they're like, it's basically a skateboard with an engine on it, so they didn't know what to do.
Oh, that fun times.
Good crack.
There was then the Smash Hits Roadshow. Do you remember that? That was one that really,
so much fun.
And supporting Boyzone and hanging out with all the other bands and all of those
Smash
moments.
Hits, that's, do you know what I always say? I was thinking about the likes of Ed Sheeran and not Taylor Swift, but Ed Sheeran, Lewis Capaldi, the guys that are kind of the big superstars now that I just feel so sorry for them that they never got to live in the era we did. You know those Smash Hits where all the bands hang out together, the SMTV mornings, like all that. There was great kind of camaraderie. That's the word I can't say. You can say it. There was great camaraderie between all the bands. And I
look at us there, Brian. Look.
Wow. You wearing lipstick?
Somebody must have gave me a kiss.
Wow. You're so young.
Look at that.
He hasn't changed a bit though, has he?
Yeah.
He's the only one that has the same haircut from day one.
Yeah. God, we were young. I reckon that's the very start.
He's still got the same haircut. We've had every haircut in the world.
Have you ever shaved your head? No.
And you know what? And I want to tell people this story. I was talking about it the other day. I was saying it to Keith Duffy about why Mark shaved his head, because we used to get up at 5 a.m. with Ben Mohappy, and we used to have to draw out straws to see who'd get up, because if we were starting work at 6 a.m, well then someone had to get up at 4:45 to be first in the chair to get their hair done. And Mark shaved his head so that he'd automatically be last because he'd have to get his hair done. That was Mark Feehily.
That's clever.
I know, but well,
and he does look good with a shaved head.
He does, but I just couldn't believe it. Was like, that's how far he was willing to shave his head for an extra hour in bed every morning.
Show up some of the pictures there, if you don't mind. Just
whoa. Now you turned into what I was like at the start. Nick Carter there, look.
I'm going to say
so
that's,
young.
I'm guessing that's Bravo magazine, Germany.
Oh,
or
definitely.
Something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
But when you see these pictures, Brian, what memories does it throw up?
The Doots.
Remember that cat?
Remember the Doots?
So Doots was a word. It was a Sligo word that the lads would call.
Yeah.
Like an idiot. The word idiot was like
yeah.
Doots.
A Ginna.
And you went out and got that the Doots.
The Doots.
Never more fitting to the fella wearing it, by the way. But I loved that Man United woolly hat. That was actually Georgina's. She bought that.
Is that Man United?
Yeah, and it was I wore it and I lost it in Asia somewhere or something. But I mean, look at us there.
Wow. My teeth were white there as well. Look, I wish my teeth had started to grow behind the front ones. And I look back and go, when did that start? When did my teeth start to... Oh, no.
You're opening bottle tops.
No. This is where, Barry Knight, Ronan's security, was Boys on Security.
Yeah.
When we started doing this whole wool look, remember we used to have, it's wool. He started calling me Val Doonigan.
Remember that.
And still to this day, he's like, it's Val?
Yeah.
Every time I see him, he calls me Val Doonigan.
Those woolly jumpers were so warm on stage.
That was the Swear It Again campaign.
Was it?
Yeah, because remember all this, and then we had those. We did 2 videos for Swear It Again. We did one in the place they shot James Bond. Is that the big
Elstree?
Elstree,
yeah, studios
in a big old place. And I don't know what happened. The video, we just looked awful. We ended up having to reshoot it, and we ended up with the black leather. But you remember, I was wearing this big, horrible. Looked like a 70s velour kind of
overcoat thing.
Oh, it was horrendous. And the hairs were all, I don't know what they were doing. And then we got that, what was his name? Phil, the brilliant choreographer, the director. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
He came in, we did that great video then in the cinema. It was just simple. And I think that really worked.
Great
then.
song though. Great
How many
song.
videos did we do? I did a video in America. Do you remember they tried to make us into the Backstreet Boys?
If I Swear It Again.
We had Tim Allen's Cadillac.
That's
Do
right.
you remember? We rented Tim Cadillac's big, and we had all these
Was
girls
it
dancing.
Nigel Dick? Is that his name? That Britney Baby One More Time shot?
Yes,
that video?
Nigel Dick. Because he actually ended up then shooting Real to Me.
Your solo.
Yeah. Back when we paid £250,000 for a video.
Yeah, it was mental. And I remember even when we were doing that, NSYNC were kind of at their peak in the States.
That's right.
They were spending $1 million on a video.
Do you remember when because we were over, when we were doing that video, we were doing the press and radio for Swear It Again. And at the time, No Strings Attached was coming out. And I remember them talking about it, that, the people used to do pre-sales for CDs where you go in and you put a $5 down and you get it. And they done 4 million pre-sales the week before the album. So people went in and bought a receipt for the thing, 4 million people, which was just unheard of.
But I interviewed Joey and we interviewed all on their career as well. I was amazed. They didn't tour outside of America.
And NSYNC never did?
Never did.
Really?
So they did a lot of promotion in Germany. They broke out of Germany, like the Backstreet Boys did. But their success, when it happened in America, a bit like Elvis Presley back in the day, they never left the States. Never.
And
ever.
Was that their call, or was that like Lou Pearlman's, or was that the
he was saying
Jive?
It was more, I think, I have to remember now, but I think he was saying it was more
Jive?
the label and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But their income was so huge in the States, but they spent so big, but they never.
You see, that's the thing is, like, imagine how expensive. Like, they were massive in America, but they weren't. They were big in the UK, but they weren't. If they were to bring that, because you saw how big that tour was in America, how big the show was. If they were to bring that to the UK to do 2 or 3 shows, it probably wouldn't work out financially. Yeah. You can understand that. You see the size of the shows they do in America and how big America is.
Yeah.
Like, you think about the tour, like our first UK tour, how many shows? They had 38 arenas in the UK. Yeah, it was first time.
And that was in the UK. That was before we went around the rest of the world.
That was
Asia,
crazy.
Europe,
That was
South
insane,
Africa.
Do you remember my favourite time of touring with Westlife was because we'd spent so much time abroad and away from our family and friends and not having that life in Ireland, was we'd done 14 nights in Point, followed by 13 nights in Belfast. So we spent nearly a month and a half, 6 weeks
at home.
And every night, we used to have the cars lined up at the back. We'd run off stage, into our robes, into our cars, and home. And before people would even leave the arena, we'd be sitting back in our houses.
But see, Brian, this is. I wanted to ask you about Simon Cowell and stuff. Maybe we'll go to him in a minute.
Yeah.
But this is what you speak about it so eloquently. You're smiling as you're talking about it. The memories of those early days for me as well are very similar. Yeah. We started driving BMWs. Then we bought Ferraris.
We bought 3 Ferraris in one day.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
But see, I remember. You were quite impulsive. Would that be a fair?
That's bang on.
Is that a fair comment?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
I remember.
But I didn't think twice about you asked to do this. I was like, yeah.
So myself and Shane deliberated over buying Ferraris for a long time. We all had them on our walls as kids.
Yeah, of course.
You were a pop star. All your dreams were coming true. You mentioned it earlier about winning the lottery type feeling. And then we were gonna go for it. We were doing budgets. We were like, this will come in, then we'll do that. And I remember the day that our accountant, when we rang him and said, we want to push the button on this. We've been out at Egham Ferrari in London. We've spoken to the guy. Nicky wants the 355. Shane wants the 560 Marno. These are beautiful. They have them there. And we're going to go and do it. And we went out. And this is a true story, Brian.
I know.
That morning, right,
By the way, I wanted a red one. You know that.
Oh, did you?
I wanted a red 360.
But you didn't have to. Oh, they didn't have it.
That one, so I'll take the yellow one.
So that morning we come down for breakfast and me and Brian, or me and Shane are about to go, and you came down and went, "Where's off the lads?" And we were like, remember we were talking about we're going to go for this now. We're going to push the button. You're going to get them. Yeah. Today. We're going to buy them today and get them shipped home. All right. Yeah. And then you disappeared, came back and went, I'm going with you. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. You're going to love them. We get into the garage. We intro you to the guy we've been dealing with for fucking the year. And then you go, what have you got? What's Nicky getting? That one. What's Shay? I'll have that. Was that yellow one? Yeah, that's mine.
Well, no, I wanted a red one.
That is you in a nutshell.
Oh, of course it is. I wanted the red one though, but didn't have one in red. So you said, if you have one in yellow, it'll do.
No, but you're focusing on the wrong thing. Look how much we prepared for that. And look at you going in the door going, yeah, if they can do it, I wanted to.
Listen,
you did the same with the house.
No, but hang on. I could have
Delgany.
I know I did. I did with all my houses.
I remember getting a mortgage.
I did it with the wives too, but a 3 Ferraris, 3 houses and 3 wives. I'm not much of a planner, Nicky.
Oh my God.
But you know what? That's me, Nicky. It's always been me. And the way I see it, and I think about my life, I go, look, so you sat back and you deliberated for 2-3 weeks about buying a Ferrari, right? I woke up and said, I want a Ferrari. I could have died the next day and I never would have had the Ferrari. I could be dead tomorrow. You know, you've got to live life for today. Oh, look, I understand about people. You got to think about tomorrow and you got to plan, especially for your children. Look, I've got life insurance. I've got all the protections for my children if anything happens to me tomorrow. But listen, I lost one of my best friends this year and he was only a couple of years older than me. And it just shows you how quick your life can be gone like that. I've always lived like that. You just have to live in the moment. You have to enjoy it because it can be taken away from you like that. Look at COVID. Look what it did to the world. And you never know when that's going to happen again. So yes, I understand people planning and having provisions for themselves, but you've got to live life in the moment.
Do you do things the right way and do I do it the wrong way?
No, not at all. I do the way things are right for me because I just want to enjoy life in the moment, enjoy every second that I have. You're right to do it the way you do it. There's no right and no wrong. That's just my thing.
Will you ever change?
No.
No.
Never change. Why would I?
No, I'm not asking you to. I'm just wondering.
No, I'd never change. You know, and listen, I haven't always got it right. You know, I can look back through the years and look at the Westlife thing. It was probably way too early for me to leave. But at the time, my headspace with everything that was going on at home and having 2 kids and being away, at the time I was like, no, I need to step away from this. Years later I look back and go, probably could have done another tour. Maybe if it had time off I might have felt a bit different and my mind would have changed. But you know, that's me. It's in that space and time, and it can be very selfish, by the way, because I don't think about other people when I make those decisions. But that's just how my head has always been. As you said, I'm very impulsive. And at the time, my head felt swamped, and I felt like the only way that I could get that swamped feeling away was by stepping back and just taking a look at my life and starting again, basically. And that's always going to be me. It's in everything I do.
So you mentioned there about when I first. Do you remember what you said to me when I first texted you to come on this show?
Yes.
What was your answer?
A laughy face.
Yeah, and then the next part you said. First question.
Oh, the first question is, why the fuck do you leave Westlife? I just thought I kind of had a feeling you were doing a podcast and it was going to be a TV show and this vibe. And I actually said, wouldn't it be gas if he brought me on and just asked that question? Because I'm sure, you know, I've talked about it a million times, but it's one of those things as well.
But here's the thing, Brian, and I mean this lovingly, you can't bullshit me.
I know that because you were there.
You can bullshit whoever you want through the interviews.
Yeah.
But if we go into why you left Westlife,
yeah,
I still don't know why you left Westlife.
And do you know what the thing about it is, Nick? I look back now, and
so
for the last 20 years, go on.
Hang on. Why did you leave Westlife?
Right now?
No, you didn't. No,
that's what I'm going to say to you. My idea of why I left has changed every couple of years over the last 20 years. The more I think back to it, and I try to put myself back in the headspace I was at the time, different things start to come into my head why it was. Obviously, number one was I had 2 children, obviously, and we were spending a lot of time. And I do remember the day that it kind of got on top of me was we were in Steve Mac's studio. I can't remember what was going on. And Jake Duncan was our tour manager at the time. And he came in and he handed us, remember the old days, you used to get your calendar in A4 pages.
I used to scare the life out of you. You're like, oh no, this is next year already.
That's what he did. He handed us that. And I remember, and I'd already kind of hinted it to you that I was unhappy. Remember, I'd said it to
me?
Yeah, I said it to you. I don't think any of you thought it was serious because we had a little thing at the Meteor Awards, remember?
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember you saying anything before that, though.
I'd actually said it to Dave last, God rest his soul, and I'd said it to Mark. I remember having a conversation, but again, people just thought it's McFadden, as usual.
But how far in advance was that?
This was like a week before. This is just before the Meteor Awards.
Okay.
But then we were in the studio and Jake handed us the A4 thing and I went like that and it was just like, I was kind of looking like there's literally nowhere there where we're going to be able to go home and just be at home, just kind of switch off and just take account of what's going on. You know what I mean? And I was looking going, wow, and it just didn't stop. And it really got on top of me.
Well, not that I'm, we're not going to call each other out on different things here. I don't think it'd be right to. But we did have Christmas off that year. Like, what there you go. Now sound like Roy Keane. It's your job. What more do you want?
Exactly. And I realised then that my job was going to be that. But like, obviously you saw what happened then when I did go home. I ended up breaking up with Kerry. So there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than just my Westlife.
But you never told us that now.
I never did. I didn't know what was going on myself. I had to figure it out myself.
You did say earlier on as well, though, we were the bubble, the best friends. We became, we hated the sight of each other every other day as well. That happens.
Yeah.
But like nobody knew that you and Kerry, were madly in love as far as we were concerned, and two beautiful daughters and so on and so forth. So like that wasn't. But that's
what I'm trying to say is that that's why I was trying to explain about depending on other people then. So I wasn't having any conversations about my outside life with you guys. It was just we were coming and working and then going away and doing our own thing. We'd all kind of started to, you could see it with everyone, even the boys from Sligo had started to build their friendships again with Briggy and all these kind of people then started to come a lot more into our life because I think we all needed that. But look, at the end of the day, Nick, it is what it is. Now I look back and I go, someone actually asked me quite recently if I could go back, would I change my decision? And I wouldn't, because if I go back, I'd still be in the same headspace I was 20 years ago. Yeah. If I was in the headspace I was in now, I'd say no, I'd have tried to work it out some other way. Yeah. But going back now...
Is that maturity? What's that?
Yeah, I was very immature. I was always the most immature in the band. And as you said, I was impulsive. If you had been in the same headspace as I was, and Shane, you probably would have went away and said, right, sat down with maybe Georgina and said, right, I need to work out a way now to make what's going on at home and this all work together. But I didn't do that. Obviously, my impulse just said it's got to be one or the other. You know what I mean? It's
mad when you think about it because, and I've said these in interviews as well.
Can I just say, by the way, if anyone thinks that there was, I didn't leave the band having any problem with any person. No. I know afterwards people were annoyed because I obviously I put your careers in jeopardy as well because nobody knew what was going to happen after that, and I didn't take your futures into consideration. That I was just dropping that bomb. That was selfish of me, but as you know, that was the impulse. But I never let, because people always think they mustn't have got on at the end. I still loved all of you exactly the same when I left as the day I joined. Like, nothing changed there.
That's admirable what you said. So to be fair, because at that time, and I've said this publicly before, we were the biggest pop band in the world, bar none. Spice Girls were gone, Boyzone were gone, Take That were well gone, NSYNC had gone, Backstreet were on a break. There was nobody near us. We had the world. We were about to try and take on America again. We there was plans for World of our Own. We'd flying out wings still up our sleeve for the States. So we didn't. We had a row with the Media Awards, and we can talk about that as well. But we've had many rows, but we couldn't understand that all these things. And you quite eloquently for the last 20 minutes spoke about how brilliant and how the dream had come true for us all. Yeah. And we were getting to that poignant 5-6 years, or 6 years, whatever it was.
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah.
And then you jump ship. And to be honest with you, it was a scary time.
Yeah, of course.
Because unlike a job, although, it was a job, but unlike a job, we depended on each other.
Yeah, of course.
And you did effectively jeopardise
100%.
And it could have been,
by the way, this could have been a very different conversation if you hadn't have gone to where you did.
Well, also, you could have been sitting here as the next Robbie Williams, and I could have been forgotten about just like the others. And it could have been a very different conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah, but look, as I said, that was... I look back now as a 24-year-old who made a very selfish decision, because obviously I didn't take the four of you into the consideration, but where my head was at the time, I just needed to sort my own head and life out. And
that's understandable. That's absolutely understandable.
And as I said, that was 20 years ago. I'm 44 now, and the way I think now is so different. And obviously if that was to happen now in my life, it would be a complete different conversation, because I've learned to think about other people, the knock-on effects. Yeah. Because that is the one thing about our career, it is quite a selfish career we do, you know, because even with our families, even now still working, I still got to leave Danny and Ruby at home. I don't get to see Molly and Lily as much as I'd like to because they live in Ireland. Whereas, you know, if I was working a 9 to 5, I'd see them every night. But it's not. I still have to go. Still have to pay my mortgage. I still got to make sure that the kids' college fees are paid and they've got a future. But I still do sacrifice a lot of time with them, and it is a selfish job. Yeah. But you know, I'm hoping that one day when I look back, they're going to end up having a great life, and it'll all be worth the sacrifice. But obviously, I have had to take collateral damage, and unfortunately for me, I would have obviously hurt you boys with that decision. And if I could go back now, I probably would have spoke more to you about it, but I don't think my decision would have changed just because of where my headspace was at the time.
Do you think a break would have helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always said that. If we'd have taken a couple of months, even 3 or 4 months off, I know it would have happened because it's what happened when I left. I was at home for 5-6 weeks and I had this whole thing, it's going to be great. Okay, the day I left the 4 Seasons after the press conference, I was like, right, go and see the lads. Rang the lads, right, who's going for a pint? I'm in work. I'm not finished till 5 o'clock. All right, ring the next one. No, I'm working on, I've got this on tonight, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden I was sitting at home in the house like that going, this isn't what I was expecting. I was expecting to be going out playing golf with the lads and going down to the pub, having a few pints.
But that's because the life that we were living, Brian, wasn't the real life. It's make-believe.
100%.
It's in a bubble. It's all of those things.
Yeah.
And you earn a few quid at that point and, you know, you want to go out and socialise. You want to do all those things. And you also have a wife and kids as well at that point. And it just, nothing can work exactly
the
like
real world is very different.
It's
very different.
You know, and we were very, very, and still are very, very lucky to be living outside of that real world to a certain extent.
Well, mate, what is it, 25 years now since we started? 98. 26 years, and we're still making a living from this. Like I think that's a massive achievement. There's not many people that can do 26 years and still be able to go out. Even if I am singing Westlife songs again, it's still to be able to still make a living and, you know, pay your mortgage and look after the kids doing this. Not many people can do that. Yeah. We've seen so many people come and go, but you know, 26 years later and we're still here, still talking about it.
Do you know? Well, it's the first time, in fairness, we've sat down and talked about it. And
we decided to do it in front of everyone. Nosy bastards.
What did you do that night after the press conference?
I went home and I sat in the house and I kind of took it all in. It was quite an overwhelming, emotional day.
It was live on Sky News. It was live everywhere.
Yeah. You know when you get shaky and nervous and you have that... You're like, that was me just kind of... imagine this was like the biggest day of my life, you know? And I was just so bloody nervous. I was actually shaking. Yeah.
I rewatched this last night just before you came in.
Yeah.
If you look at my face...
Do I still leave?
If you look at my face, I'm so annoyed.
Are you?
Yeah.
I never...
Do you know what? I'm hurt and I'm annoyed.
We have enjoyed so many times with you on the road.
Can you hear this?
No.
Put the cameras on.
I remember it. Oh, sorry.
Weddings and babies. But most of all, we've shared our dreams. Although we wish very much so.
Do you know my little protest? I've never told anybody.
No.
I didn't stand up.
Oh, right.
That was my little protest towards you.
I thought you were just doing to make the picture look right, the shapes, you know, because you'd be covering Shane. He'd be sticking his head out.
But, you know, genuinely, I'll be honest, like, we were hurt.
No, I was surprised.
We were worried. We were scared. You said that in an interview years later. The boys were more worried just for themselves.
Listen, as I said, I've always tried to say to people that I've got no bad blood. I could understand why there would be feelings towards me. But I think now, look, it's been 20 years. And by the way, the 6 years I was in Westlife were the greatest 6 years of my life. Yeah. And that's the only sad thing is that I think back at them, as you saw today, anything we talk about from those years, I have a smile on my face. It was just epic. And I would hate to think, you know, the day I died, that was tainted by us not being able to get on 20 years later, you know, when it's worked out for everybody. You know, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. I've got a beautiful family. I'm still working, still doing gigs, but I'm doing it on my own steam, so I can still have number one priority is home and family life, and then I go and do the gigs to pay the bills. You know what I mean? And you boys went on to be bigger than we ever even were for those 6 years, so it worked out for everybody in the end. And I'd love if we could leave it like that at the end of life and go, could we not have a pint over that now and just celebrate how great it was?
I think we can. I mean,
I think me and you can, yeah.
No, I think we all can. I mean, we did in LA. That's, although it feels like a long time.
That's a long time ago. That wasn't long after I left, because I think that's when were you coming back to do, no, you were doing the photo shoot for Allow Us to Be Frank, was it?
No, it was after that. Was it? It was way after that, yeah, but I can't remember, because Allow Us to Be Frank was the year you left.
Oh, right. Well, then it must have been your first album back after that then. Was you a break after Frank?
No, we did You Raise Me Up the following year. That went
It was after that again. It was after that.
So
it
it's
must have been about 2009. I think that's when I lived in LA. Look, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and as I said,
I don't think it's...
As I tried to explain to people as well, is people are, do you not speak to each other? I'm like, but it's not like that. I said, you have to understand. It's like, it's a bit like going to college.
But can I just, on that, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard you say that, and I remember Ronan used to say that about boys on school or college friends, and it's not wrong, it's true.
Yeah.
It's a bit more than that, as we know, because we lived in each other's pockets for a long time.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, okay, we had to protect ourselves.
Of course.
We'd been burned. We'd been, effectively our career facing the end of it, staring on the barrel of a gun, effectively, right? We did an album called Allow Us to Be Frank, and by Westlife terms, okay, it was a swing album, it wasn't a pop album. It didn't perform like the way all of our Westlife albums
of course.
had. So you left in March 04. Allow Us to Be Frank came out in October 04.
Yeah.
Then we did a tour, and at that point, I thought Westlife was about to end. And I went to New York and I did an acting course in New York Film Academy, and I was mentally preparing for the end.
For the future,
right?
yeah.
You went off and had a number one single with Real to Me, and then different thing happened in your personal life and things changed for you.
Yeah.
We came back with You Raise Me Up, and You Raise Me Up saved our career.
Yeah, amazing.
You Raise Me Up propelled us. We were back number one in Australia, different parts of the world.
Well, if anything, I think it even might have taken you to the next level.
Yeah.
That's
what I mean.
Because places like Australia, we weren't really big in Australia before that.
I think Uptown was big, and looking like that might have had a little
They
bit
were
of,
okay. Because I know when I went down there, it was that people didn't know me from when I got down there and I had my number one singles. People didn't know me from Westlife because they only knew Westlife from You Raise Me Up,
right,
with the 4.
Okay.
So people never put together the me and the Westlife thing because Westlife had become so big in Australia as this new thing that no one ever went to me, oh, you're the guy from Westlife, but everyone knew who Westlife was.
Was that not weird for you?
No, not at all. It was. I looked at it and I was kind of thinking. I was really happy. I was really happy that you boys were back to where you should be. But I also was seeing this is the next thing. We always talked about, because I believe in my days in Westlife and the songs we done. Right, we'd Uptown Girl, right, which was a cover and it was for a comic relief. I always felt that we never had the song that other acts had, which is like their legacy song, like Back for Good, Take That. I wanted
Fly Me No Wings.
Yeah, but it wasn't though. It's still not. It's. I still think to this day it's one of the greatest songs ever written. I still sing it every gig I do. But it doesn't have the same impact as like Back for Good. People love that. Not even know Take That.
I'm not defending. Well, I am, I suppose. Where are you talking about? Where?
Worldwide. I just mean the song.
But if you equate the success of the song you mentioned, Back for Good, right, versus let's say My Love, right. If you look at all of the Asian countries and all of China, and I would, less of the English, Irish speaking countries. Yeah. My Love is a far bigger. No,
I understand that, but it's not about the success with the fans and stuff. I mean, it was like radio hits and stuff, people would know Back for Good who wouldn't even know Take That. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think You Raise Me Up then was the first time that I saw a Westlife song went, this is bigger than the band.
Right.
This is bigger than the band.
Understand,
like people, so even when I walk down the street in places, people go, oh, there's where You Raise Me Up. Wasn't in it for that. And anytime I do a gig, people are going, can you sing Raise Me Up? I was like, I wasn't in the band for that song. I can't sing that one. But like that to me was the first song.
Do you ever sing any songs that you weren't in the band for us?
No. Oh, I did actually. I had to do this wedding in Asia, right, and the bride wanted me to sing. Shane had a song. Is it the
Beautiful and White?
That's the one.
Right.
And
it was actually written for Westlife, and Shane demoed it.
Right.
And we didn't go with it, and then when Westlife split up, the demo was leaked.
Right.
Came big for Shane, and now we've embraced it and we do it ourselves.
That's the only one because the bride really wanted it for her first dance, and I was like, I couldn't say no, so I was like, yeah, it's a nice song.
Yeah.
But no, there's no other ones. But it's really weird now.
Is there a song that you wish you were a part of? You Raise Me Up?
Oh no. You Raise Me Up. Yes and no. My favourite one, the one that I was in the video, the one where you're using the clips of me leaving and all that in it.
Was that recent or years ago?
Oh, it was
Us Against the World?
'Cause it's us against the world. What a song that is.
Written by Rami.
Was that Rami?
Yeah,
that was a class song. I liked the one as well. Starlight. Yeah. That's a great song too. Yeah. I've listened to most stuff. I really like it, and I like the way the band has progressed as well. Because we always had this thing. We talked about it off camera earlier about when Kel went off to America for our 4th album, wasn't it, the Turnaround album?
Yeah.
And obviously up to then, Kel had done everything. You know, Kel had got the Swedes, he'd got Steve Mack, he got all the producers and songwriters to do our album. And he kind of went away for this album and kind of left it to ourselves. So we decided we wanted to go and source great songwriters and everything. And I think the album that we made was I was so proud of it. You know, On My Shoulder, we were just talking about
Great
it.
song.
Obvious was a great song. There were so many great songs in that album. And then, you know, a year after us doing that and we'd finished the album, and then Cowell comes back and he's like, right, I want to have a listen to this album. And he's like, no, we don't have our big single. And I'll never forget the day. And we're all sitting there and he turns around and he goes, but don't worry, I've saved it. And he turned around and pressed play, and on comes Barry Manilow, Mandy, and I just remember sinking in the chair going, oh my God, we just created something that we were so proud of. And our one thing was we wanted to try and do one album that we didn't have a cover on. Because I still look back and I think that was the one great thing about West. Our original songs were so strong, they're so good, that I understood us doing Uptown Girl as a cover because it was for Comic Relief, which is brilliant, and Against All Odds was with Mariah, so goes without saying. But the original stuff was so strong, and at the time there was so many people doing covers, I always felt we didn't need to do covers. I thought the stuff we had was so strong.
But you just said globally our biggest song ever was You Raise Me Up, and that's
yeah,
cover.
but that's not really a cover, because I think people around the world think of that as a Westlife song.
Yeah.
Brian Kennedy done it, but it's not a cover. It's not the way we did Against All Odds or Uptown. Everyone knew Uptown Girl before we did it.
But Against All Odds with Mariah Carey, I mean, what an opportunity. I remember
Huge.
you banging on the door to me in Indonesia, Jakarta one morning, bang, 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 bang. I was there, what husband died, opened the door. You were like, we're singing with Mariah Carey, we're doing Against All Odds. I mean, these were stuff of dreams.
Do you remember Mark going over to at the party?
Which party?
We were at the Clive Davis party, the Arista 25th.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, no,
yeah,
it was the World Music Awards or something like that. Do you remember we went down to traffic in the
Yes,
Beverly Centre and we needed outfits, and we went down, we put the company credit
It
card
was a
behind.
pre-Grammy party, is with Clive Davis. Yeah.
And I was wearing a onesie, a sleeveless onesie with a jacket over it, and we were all kitted from head to toe. And that was the night when we were in the party, and NSYNC were there, Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, all these people were at it. And I think that was the night Louis went over and started a conversation. But I think somebody said to Mark, go and ask Mariah to sing this.
But again, ties into everything, Brian. Like, you banged on my door that day. Within 2 days, we were back on a plane to Capri to record Against All Odds at the top of a mountain in the studio. We were eating oysters with Mariah Carey, right? And then we went and shot the video walking through the streets of Capri the same day.
That was mad.
A year before that, Brian, you were in Artane playing for St. Martin's.
And that was crazy.
And I know I was just come back. I was in Baldoyle.
I think that was the first. Right, we're gone to the next level now. That was because, like, people don't understand now. Like, young kids will hear who Mariah Carey is, but when we were growing up, and at that time, she was the biggest artist on the planet. She was Michael Jackson big at that time. Yeah, and that was the first time, because I still think when we were doing Smash Hits, supporting Boyzone, doing all the UK stuff, it still felt everybody's doing this in the UK. We still felt part of the UK clique, but that Mariah duet. That was international. All of a sudden, that was the next level. And it was, as you said, the whole thing happened. We recorded the song, shot the video, and did all the press and promotion for it in one day. Yeah. We never went to bed. We arrived in the morning, and 24 hours later, we were back on the boat. Yeah. It was just the most insane 24. And I think we just spent the whole time just pinching each other going, is this happening? Yeah. Is this actually happening?
Do you remember the single sleeve cover?
You got any water left?
Yeah. I
thought I was going to get a pint of Guinness when I got here, but I guess
we have to go to the bar in a minute. Do you remember the single sleeve for Against All Odds?
Is it the one I'm looking at our boobs? Thanks, mate. Oh, man.
They had to paint your eyes in.
Oh, look, in fairness though, like, they were there. It was like, you're standing next to Mariah Carey, our whoppers are out. I was going to have a look. But, like, why did they use that shot? Like, of all the shots of the video, they had to get the one.
Do you know what? I actually think it was probably more of a story from the record label to put out there than anything else. What was your memories of Simon Cowell? Like, do you still see him?
No. He's a bit of a weird character. Like, he's a nice guy. I've always liked Simon, but he's just like, people don't realise that he is exactly the same in real life as he is on TV. Everything's a little act, isn't it? Yeah. Guys. I remember he used to smoke the cigarettes in between his two fingers, that with his little Superman picture and everything. He was just a larger than life character.
Did he ever contact you when Westlife ended, or when you were about to leave, or he talk you out of it, talk you into it? Nothing.
Not at all. The only person that said anything to me after I left was John Giddings. He says, cheers, mate. He goes, you just cost me £15 million. That's all he said. Never mind the 6 years I had gigged from him. He was just worried about the fact that I'd risked the next gig coming out. That was all he said to me. I still slag him over that.
Was there anybody that tried to stop you, by the way? Like your mom, your dad, your wife, your best mates?
No, I think it happened so fast. I think that was a thing. You never really had the chance to be talked out of it, did it? Because we made it happen so fast. Do you remember we came here? It was 20 years ago. We were in this house. And we talked about me staying to do the tour and leaving after. But obviously everyone was like, that's going to be too weird.
Well, that would have been the Brian McFadden farewell tour. That wouldn't have been fair on us either.
No, of course. And I totally understood that as well. I said, that makes, how weird would that be? And also, you guys should be getting ready to do a new album and doing all that extra work, and I'd just be rocking up on the night and getting paid for doing a gig. That made no sense either. So because that, then obviously we had to get it done so quick. So there was never really a time for anyone to talk me out of it. And who would have talked me out of it anyway? You know what I mean?
we kind of had become a little bit...
We were surrounded by yes people as well. Everyone was just yes, yes, yes.
But I often wondered how you were. I often wondered, did you wait? Because I went to bed at night, every time my head hit the pillow, although my conscience was clear, I was like, what has he done?
I know. Yeah, but you know what? I don't think... I didn't have anything like that in my head for the first few months because I had a lot of relief off my shoulders and because obviously the things that were going through my head leading up to when I left had gone. But then it was more, it wasn't more like, what have I done? It was like, what am I going to do in my life? I was all alone because there was no one in the house. Kerry and the kids had gone to England at the time. All my mates were all working. You boys were gone. So all of a sudden, everyone that was kind of around me was gone. And I was literally just sitting there going, what am I supposed to do now? And that's when I started to write soul music.
But you became as busy on your own very quickly.
Well, I did and I didn't. See, the difference is when I was doing it solo, I didn't have to ask any, the five of us, if we said, right, I want to take 2 weeks off in June. Well, all five of us had to agree on that, and then a manager, and then Sonny, and then everybody had. It was so hard to get anything done because of so many people. You're responsible for so many people. Yeah. Whereas with this, it was like if they said to me, right, you're going to go to Australia for 2 weeks. If I said no, I was like, well, I just didn't go. That was the difference. If there was something going on in my life, I could make it first. And it's obviously life's a lot easier now with the way the world. But obviously back then it was still hard because, as you know now, we could have done this interview with me at home in England, and we could have done it over Zoom, and that's the beauty now of this job. You can do all your work from here, whereas we used to have to go into every radio station, into every newspaper, everything. And I guess now that's why it makes it so much easier because you literally just have to do the gigs.
So your decision was made by then.
But that was just me then saying it out loud for the first time to you guys. Right. I'd already had a chat with Dave last. We were in Benny Hanna's. Remember Swiss Cottage Benny Hanna's?
Yes,
we'd been there the week before, and I had a chat with him, and he said, "Don't be stupid." And I spoke to Ben Mahappy about it as well, and both of them were like, "Just don't do anything rash, have a think." Now I guess they were the people that tried to talk me out of it, but that was just their response to me saying.
That, just for reference for people, that was the security guard that was looking after us, and the hairdresser that would have been doing the promotion with us.
Yeah. And they kind of said, just don't do anything stupid. And that was it. And then I didn't do anything stupid. I had still thinking about it in my head for a while. Okay. And then obviously, I guess what the Meteor Awards did was it made it
real. It
made it real because I said it out loud then. So then all of a sudden you knew. Yeah. But I still don't think you thought it was serious. You just thought I was being a dickhead because we were after having a row.
Well, when you came to the apartments that night when we arranged for the meeting, and you walked in, and I remember your exact lingo words were, "I'm hanging up my boots." Yeah, was what you said. I remember you were sitting actually next to me. I looked at you, and do you remember the TV show Punked was out at that point?
Yeah.
And I swear, as you were talking, I was looking, I was going, he has to be mic'd up. I'm looking around, and back then, that's 20 years ago. Yeah. And I genuinely thought it was a TV show. You were pulling a prank on us. No, that's as mad as it was.
And I wouldn't mind, but next time I did see, I was doing a prank on you. Yeah, remember I turned up with the sign and good Lord.
So I'm gonna ask you, what does happiness mean to you now?
Happiness now. When I wake up in the morning, I woke up this morning and I looked over and I saw little Ruby looking at me, and then I talk to my daughters and I hear happiness in their voice. I think that all comes down to that, doesn't it? It comes down to your kids. If I always worried that my life, my lifestyle, the way I was, might affect my children. And the way I've seen Molly and Lily grow up now, and to see they've grown into two beautiful young women.
You've done something right.
Well, I'm just glad I didn't affect them negatively, right. Because as I said to you, there's a lot of selfishness goes on doing this job, and I've obviously lots of things have happened in my life where I'm not proud of. And I always worry that it might affect them. So I think happiness now is seeing my girls happy, seeing them be positive. And, you know, I still love singing. Yeah. Singing's still my favourite thing in the world to do. There's nothing that beats when you get on the stage and you sing and you see people reacting, and that it's as I said to people before, I'd have done it for free. Me and you would have done it for free before we got in Westlife. We did it. We used to go do karaoke with your dad in bloody Gibney's. We would sing anywhere for free. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the fact that I still get to do it.
One of the nights in Gibney's?
Just someone scratched the car.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course I
do.
And
we ran around, so we did a karaoke in Gibney's.
Too hard, man. I'm going to find now.
And we came out and I parked the car probably a little bit too far out or something. This fella was driving off and he was giving me, you know, dog's abuse.
Yeah.
And I let him out. He can F off. And we were putting the amps back in the car. So this is the week before we officially got in the van. Yeah. And we'd only met at the audition the week before.
The first audition, yeah.
And then I looked around, the car's completely keyed all the way around.
I remember
my dad
the green Seat, wasn't it?
Seat Cordoba, was dark red. Seat Cordoba. And we ran around the Malloy Garda station, and the guard ran around back with us, and I tried taking the reg of the car, and I gave it to him. And I if you remember, earwigging into his microphone, or his dispatch. Yeah. And I just heard coming back, he'd obviously raided in the reg, and they said, that's a Portmarnock address there. And I was thinking,
happy days. Happy days.
I never got to see that car again. Yeah. Had to pay for the car to be fixed. But they were good memories. Like,
they're great memories.
We did have good
But
times.
those first years were they're still my favourite part. You know, obviously the stress of the end, and I try and get that out of my head. And to be honest with you, I don't remember much of that part of the band. The negative
the
parts,
press conference bit and all that bit, and
all
because
of that.
when I look back to the press conference thing, and I my little protest sitting down and all that. I mean, we're so young, right? And you're nervous, and we're all nervous, and we think our career's about to end, and you're going on. We didn't really believe that you could just want to go home and spend time with the family, considering the life we were living.
Yeah, of course.
And then we were proved right, because you did go on to release Real to Me pretty soon after and do so well. But when you look at it, I just feel I wanted to grab you and kick you. It's like, where's this throwback up there?
Well, maybe if you had it might have been different.
If you look at me, I only watched this the other night, and Georgina, who knows you best, obviously,
I never noticed
she's
that
going,
before,
you're like a little baby, but I can see you.
Seething.
But
I could see you doing that.
Yeah, I was like, I knew you so well. It was like, if I kick him under the table,
he might change his mind.
Look, have a look. Here you go now.
Look at the ticket. Look at Alfred on the bar having a pint. Look. Will you hurry up with
I
that?
just want to kick you in the head. I'm like, what are you doing?
Wow. And look at this t-shirt, post-selected.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Hit my proper ball, tell me.
The weirdest thing about that was, Brian, we got ready in separate rooms for the first time. We didn't see you till you walked in that room, and then you left
another
early.
I couldn't see the bride before the party.
What's going through your mind there, right there?
I honestly can't remember, because I remember just being so nervous, and the whole thing when I think.
By the way,
about
real
it now,
quick, sorry, I give you a little slap here. I think it's a little bit stronger than it needs to be. Just have a little look here. Just watch. Bang, bang.
But you know what? That's you. That's your football thing. Every time I go, "Howdy, Macker, how's it going?"
If I had been able to close me fist, if Sky News wasn't recording,
now we're out. No, but seriously, going back to it though, like, as you asked me, what's going on? I can't visualise that, and that's all white in front of my eyes there. I just remember, I can't even remember what was in front of us. I look at that, I can remember that, but I can't remember what was out there at all. Yeah. Can't remember it. But that was a room full. That was like... Yeah, I can't remember.
It's mad now when you think about it. It was big
and I tell you now, I don't remember much of the last year as well. I don't remember much that went on. Whenever I think about the band now, I always think of the early days. I always think of those first few months when we were in Sligo, the auditions, and then, you know, the beginning, going on the Smash Hits tour, you know, just all of that, the first video shoot, the first single, all of that was amazing. The Greatest Hits tour was fantastic. Actually, the other tour as well, in the Round, was a brilliant tour.
Yeah, great tour, yeah.
And after that then, that's when it goes away. But all of that is just, I just think of it with a massive smile. It was so good. Our first time going to America, do you remember that? Because we were actually going through a bit of a lull at the time of the band. Remember, we were all not that we weren't getting on, but our friendships had kind of sizzled a little bit, and we were all a little bit snarky. And then we went to America. Do you remember? To shoot the video for Unbreakable. And that was the restart of the band again for us, because we had, the five of us had the absolute best crack.
There's a great clip of What's the Story, or what you say. I won't ruin the gag. Do you remember the bit we're doing? We're doing idents.
Oh, what's the story, folk? Oh, what's the folk story?
Yeah, that is
brilliant.
Actually, throw that up there. What's the story, folks?
But this to me was we were getting a bit stale with each other and everything. And that trip, we came back a brand new band after that.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable
I was
trip.
dressed up as Enrique Iglesias for that whole thing.
And me and Mark just went down to Niketown and just bought basketball gear. We looked like absolute ginnets.
So for context for this, right?
Yeah.
When we grab it up here, we're in the middle of the Unbreakable video shoot, and we have 1,000, well, maybe 100 idents to do for every country in the world.
Yep.
And you can trip over what you have.
We
to
might
say.
have had a few drinks the night before.
and here's the thing. We're so hungry because we've an hour off from the video shoot. I've got to go back on set. We're so hungry. We've all these idents to do.
Yeah.
You can see some of us are more annoyed and hungry than others. And then this happens. I don't know if you it's called What's the Story?
What's the folks story?
Westlife, What's the Story, folks?
Hey, story, what's the folks?
And we're so delirious. It's definitely on YouTube. What's the story, folks? Or all right, folks. What's
the story?
Yeah, I think we have it there.
It's class, this.
So this is a good memory.
But you can see that the bond was back here. You can see the crack. This is well in as well. This is greatest hits album.
Yeah, 5 years.
And you can see that that trip was the best thing that ever happened to us, I think.
Yeah. Well, not for you. You only lasted one more year.
I know, but for us as a 5, not the 4 of us.
No, I mean you only lasted one more year. It didn't really ignite it too much. You were gone.
Not at all. So we did Unbreakable was on the greatest hits album. So then we did Turnaround, and that came out. It was the tour of the Turnaround that I left. And so we'd done the whole album and everything. So we went to India to do Obvious. Remember all of that?
Yeah.
Did the MTV Awards in India.
Here we go. You have to go up on the top there and get...
You got sound, no?
Yeah, we'll try and get up. Our producer to the stars here. No sound on that.
Are you hearing that in yours?
No.
I'm keen. I was like, no, I'm not.
Okay, here we go.
Sleeveless top on.
our fans in the Philippines, I'm Shane.
I'm Mark. I'm Nicky.
Brian. And I'm keen.
And we're Westlife.
What?
I'm keen. I was like, no, I'm not.
Hi, I'm Shane.
I'm Mark. I'm Nicky.
I'm keen. I'm Brian.
And we're Westlife.
By the way, we're on TV.
That's so Shane. Lads, I'm hungry. Come on.
It's not fun. They're going to say, he's not fun because you're bored. It's not fun. Brian.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. They'll ring in, and they'll make it a point on the next show, and they'll be talking about us again. They'll be going, how come? I like that, lads. It's fun. And they're going to be bad. Oh, money.
1, 2, 3.
Hi, we're Westlife.
I'm Shane.
I'm Mark.
I'm Nicky.
I'm starving.
Oh, right story. What's the full?
That was the end of it. Good luck.
That's probably one of the greatest memories, actually.
That whole trip was absolutely brilliant.
Did you spend much time with Enrique when you were over there?
He was too busy singing to his heroes. Come here, do you remember as well at that time we had a new manager for America? He was Cher's manager.
Billy Samet.
Billy Samet.
Dead.
Is he dead as well? Jeez, anyone left? But
Sad,
he was brilliant. So what I loved about Billy was Billy decided the way we break LA is I'm friends with all the big club owners. So we'll arrive in a limo and I'll pay paparazzi to take photos. Remember we turned up to Joseph's, was it?
Joseph's, yeah.
Joseph's, and we got out and all the press like, hey guys. And then all the real press were like, oh, who's this?
And that's the way it is in America. Do you remember we went to
amazing.
another place one time and Brittany was in the VIP and then she supposedly lit up a cigarette and the whole place got evacuated.
That's
and
right.
The fire brigade were there. And all.
Do you remember the night we went in and there was NSYNC were there,
Yeah.
Backstreet Boys, Jessica Simpson,
Yeah.
Vin Diesel,
Christina.
Mark Wahlberg,
Christina
Aguilera,
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder. Do you remember Mark?
Mark was over like a
Mark
light.
over on his knees talking to Stevie Wonder, and we came out to the car and he goes, he was talking to him for about 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and then we got into the car and the back and Mark goes, Stevie gave me his number,
Yeah.
and I looked at it, it was 4 digits, 2061. He must have a special number. We're like, oh, Mark. You got told by Stevie.
What's the future for Brian McFadden now? What's the plan? How far ahead are you planning stuff? What are you up to?
Well, we're not planning. Obviously, I'm doing the Boys Life thing with Keith Duffy. And that's been, listen, it's been great. We've got new music coming out. Got a single coming out in September, which is, you know, I think people think that me and Keith doing Boys Life is us singing just Westlife and Boys, and it's not. This is our second original album.
Okay.
So we've got a single coming out in September, and then we're actually going on a world tour. We're going to go to America. Our first time to America. Now, it won't be as big as you boys in America, obviously, but we're playing like the Troubadour in LA and places like that.
When is that?
Next March, April. So March we're in America. So we start in Ireland, then we go to UK, then we go New Zealand, Australia. We go America, New Zealand, Australia, and then we'll do the summer festivals and then back into Europe then for September, whatever. So
Okay.
we've got a year of touring. Listen, it's great fun. You know, the two of us just go out. We play golf every day. We do the gigs at night. We have the crack. You know,
Do you think this is more suited to you than being in something like Westlife, if you know what I mean?
what now?
Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't be able to do Westlife now. No,
Right.
well, not that I wouldn't be able to do Westlife now. I wouldn't be able to do the first 6 years now.
Right.
There's no way I could leave Ruby at home and Danny and not see them, not be able to go on those mad trips. Like I could do this. Like this is the first tour. It was the first world tour we're ever doing, but it's the first tour that we're doing where we're gone for 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I could never do. You remember we used to go to Asia and Australia? We'd be gone for 5-6 weeks at a time. Couldn't do that now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be able to do that now.
Yeah.
But I guess you don't do it either, do you? You just pick specific times to go away.
Yeah,
and
well, we try to limit the big trips to no longer than 3.5 weeks.
Well, there you go.
know
So
what I
you
mean?
do
And that's-
a block at a time.
But that's what I'm saying. Like we put the hard work, you included, put the hard work in those first 4 or 5 years.
So you can do it.
We then put a lot more hard work in after you'd gone as well to
Yeah.
secure and you raised me up. We spoke about being so big.
Yeah.
And then that, I suppose we got to a level of maturity where we call the shots, where we tell the labels, where we tell the agents, where we say, this is what we want to do. Go make it happen.
Well, it's a different world now as well, isn't it? Like music has completely changed. Like the way we used to do it, where we'd make an album, bring out 4 singles, whatever, and then we'd go to every country and you'd be up in the morning. Go to Holland, you're doing, what is it, TMF in the morning. You do a photo shoot for them, then you do a photo shoot for this, photo shoot for that. And you would think about the amount of work. Like remember, that's the one I always remind. I don't know why it's always in my head as one of the most stressful was always Amsterdam in that amazing big white hotel. You know that beautiful hotel?
Yeah.
And we'd be in the big conference room and they'd have 4 or 5 of those photographic pull down paper things.
Yeah.
And it used to be horrible as well because you used to have to do the film and they take a Polaroid.
Right.
And then can we move the lights there? I remember how long they used to say, and we used to kill. And then there's 5 of us, so you'd have to have 5 of us looking the same way. Then one wouldn't, and they'd be screaming at each other, going, "Will you look? I'm sick of this." Come on. I think of them and I go, "Oh, that was so hard back then." I look now and see how easy it is, where it's just Zoom calls. Yeah. You just sit in your house and do 10 Zoom calls, and there's your whole campaign done.
But you are, Brian. You haven't changed. You are a mile a minute.
Always,
aren't you though?
Always have been.
Yeah. When do you actually rest?
When I die. When I die. And I'll probably still be rocking around in the coffin.
What do you believe happens when you die?
I'd like to think you go to heaven. I'd like to think there's somewhere special. I think, you get cynical in your age. And I think for a long time, obviously I grew up a Catholic. And I went through a whole phase where I was just an atheist. I was like, just don't believe in God. I believe in science. I don't believe there's any way there could be a God and all of this. And then you lose people in your life. And part of your body just makes you go, I'm going to have a little belief that we do go somewhere nice and there is somebody looking after us all, because what's the point in not doing it? I think if you put those positive vibes out in the world, it's better than having that negative vibe of just, I don't believe.
Yeah.
I
hope so. I mean, I've obviously lost a parent. I hope I get to see him someday again.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. You knew me dad well back in the day.
And that's what I hope. I hope that when we do that, we get to be reunited with those people. And I'll tell you, there'll be some session with him when we get up there.
he'd turn around and go, "Why did you leave the band, you fucking idiot?"
He'd have jumped out and go, "Don't mind him, you and your bollocks, get back."
He would have.
Sky News, fuck off.
Get out, Brian, get back in here. All right, last thing. I always ask people to put a boy band together.
Yeah.
Okay. It can be anybody. It could be rock stars. It could be pop bands. Sorry, pop stars. It has to be 5 because one inevitably will always walk out the door.
Right.
Okay. Don't know if you know anything
I'll do
about
it
that.
I'll do it with just boy bands.
Okay.
Right, I'll just do a boy band.
Now, you can be anyone you want. You can put yourself in there. You can put me in there. You can put Robbie Williams, Gary Barlow.
I'll tell you who I'll start with. I'll go AJ from the Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
Because I always felt, as much as I've always thought Brian Littrell was one of the best boy band singers of all time, I just think that AJ was that one character that was a little bit left field.
Edgy.
Quality, great performer, looks cool.
Yeah.
So he's got his own thing. I love all that. And even his little inflections in the songs made the songs great.
Yeah.
You'd have to go Justin.
Okay.
Justin Timberlake would have to be in there. To me, he's probably of anyone who's ever in a boy band, I'd have to put him number 1 for his singing, his dancing, his songwriting's incredible.
Yeah.
And just his career as well. I think it's been probably the most well-managed career in pop music. Right, so what's that? That's
you 2.
Age Angels. Right, so we'll go I'll put Shane in there.
Okay.
I think Shane Filan, still to this day, I think he's got the best pop voice of a boy. I know people have different ones, and Mark was an amazing R&B style singer and all that, but I think Shane's voice, you know, over Ronan, over Brian Littrell, I think Shane has probably as close to George Michael as anyone's had. So I'd have Shane in there for his voice.
Okay, brilliant. Louis said the same, by the way, with Shane.
Yeah. Right, let me think.
You mentioned George Michael. He's another one that people.
Yeah, well, he was in Wham, so we could have George in there. Yeah,
No, but I'm not picking for you here.
no, I'm just thinking more your typical boy bands. I'd put Ronan in there.
Okay.
You know, Ronan's had an incredible career. If you look at the years of Boyzone, his solo stuff, but I think he's always managed as well to
Recreate
his
himself,
career
reinvent
and
himself.
stuff. Yeah, you know, I think he's.
By the way, I'm asking you before you finish the last person. And I pushed Louis on this few weeks ago, and it's a really good interview. I don't know whether he's going to come out before yours or whatever, but I pushed him on trying to make it up with Ronan. I pushed him and said, would you two not sit down? Life is too short. What's your view on that?
I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think the two of them have. You see, I think the problem is not about what they've said about each other, it's where they've come from. Like, you think about what they were. You know, the two of them, like, they did everything together in Boyzone. They were so close. And I think to go from that close and that tight together to being, you know, as petty as they've both been and bitching about each other, I just think that's one bridge that's going to be very, very hard to mend. I do. I'd like to see it. Listen, I think it'd be great if everyone just all got on again. You know, there's a lot of bad blood with a lot of people, and sometimes you look and you go, isn't it quite sad that what you've both achieved in your lives and career, and then everyone and kind of go, and that you can't even talk about it now and shake hands. And
that's why I said to Louis, I think both of them are well, Louis definitely, I'm not so sure about Ronan, but I think both of them are hurt.
Yeah, it's definitely hurt.
Yeah.
They're not annoyed, they're hurt.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. You can tell that. You know, it's not like they're going, oh, I just don't like him. It's that I'm hurt about what the other person has said and what they did to each other. But look, it's up to them. Hopefully one day they can remember the fact that in whatever year they got together, in 1995, their lives were very different than they are now, and they're both a part of that together.
Absolutely.
You know?
Right, you got AJ, JT, Shane.
It's got to be Robbie, isn't it?
It's got to be Robbie?
It's got to be Robbie. Okay. Yeah, I think, and that's a pretty good band. You got some different voices in there. You got some style.
Who's the leader? AJ, JT, Shane, Ronan, Robbie.
You'd probably have to get Ronan to do it because Ronan's a good man manager, isn't he?
Who's going to leave?
Oh, Robbie. I only put Robbie in so we could leave.
What are they going to be called?
Oh, God. What would they be called? There's a lot in there, isn't there? Take boys life in the sink toilet street. Not too many names.
Got to see that on the front of the Three Arena.
Just the band. Hang on. The lads. With a Z. The lads. With a Z.
Brian McFadden, it's been brilliant. It's been
Nicky,
interesting.
it's been great to catch up. This is the longest we spoke since I left.
Yeah, well, I was trying to work out. I think I've only seen you. I definitely saw you at Stephen Gately's funeral.
Yeah.
I saw you. We bumped into each other in LA. Remember that? We went for dinner.
In Hout one day.
Oh, in Hout, yeah. With a previous ex of yours.
And I bumped into you in Gibney's one night. You were having pints with your friends.
Don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh,
you were sitting in the very front of Gibney's.
How many points did I have?
You were locked.
And then I do remember we bumped into when your Real to Me promo. We were in Scandinavia one time.
Soccer Aid.
Oh, Soccer Aid.
Soccer Aid.
So maybe 6, 7, 8 times in total. So this has been
great. It's
been
nice
interesting.
to talk
And you know
about
what?
as well.
I do believe that the Westlife fans, I don't know about anybody else, but the Westlife fans will I suppose want to hear your side of it, our side of it.
I guess it's good that all these years later, it's nice to be able to both of us talk about it rather than me just say what I was thinking. It's nice so that I get to hear what you were thinking, what you were going through. And at least hopefully now the fans will understand a little bit more about what it was, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And unfortunately, it's life and things happen in life that you just have to live with. And unfortunately, that's the timing of that was just...
Were you all through the years, were you always conscious when you did interviews of, I suppose, not upsetting us or us not upsetting you, or how the boys might take what you might have said?
I'm always very conscious that I want people to know how I feel about you boys, because I think people have this impression that there's us and them, and it's never been like that for me. And I always just want to make sure that whatever I talk about the band, that people do know that I've got nothing but fond memories of it and appreciation. Like, my life is what it is now because of those 6 years in Westlife. Yeah. You know, it's changed forever and for the good. Yeah. So I'll always look at those 6 years as the best 6 years of my life. And I've you know, every day something will happen and a memory will come up, and I'll have that forever. Those 6 years of memories.
Even greater than working security in McDonald's on Grafton Street.
Well, I did get to meet Ken Doherty one night, and that was pretty special. But yeah, even more than that. But again, I was the day I got into Westlife, I was still working in McDonald's security. Yeah, it's mad. But yeah, what a great 6 years, and I'm so happy as well that you guys got to, because I always try and explain to people as well. There's two Westlifes. There's the Westlife for the 6 years I was there, and then there's the last 14 years of your Westlife, which is to me is a complete new thing. Where you raised me up, and they're two different bands. Yeah. I see it as, you know.
No, in fairness, I would agree with that. And we had to do so many things differently. We had to pull together in so many different ways, share out vocals, change vocals.
Hey, Hannah, did you not enjoy that though when I left it? You got to sing all my bits.
Of course, I never wanted you to come back. They're my bits now, just so let's be clear.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like even people say to me now, would you ever go back to Westlife? Would you do something together? I said, it would never work. I tried to explain to people because it is two different things. The Westlife I was in 20 years ago for 6 years, 3 albums and that, and goes, the boys have had, you know, how many albums have you had since I did 8, 9 albums or something like that?
You've done 14 or 15 in total. You did 3.
But there you go. Yeah. So that's, you know, I'm trying to explain to people, what would that look like, me going back? I'm not part of that band. Their catalogue of music I'm not involved in, so it would make absolutely no sense.
You know, it's an interesting conversation, but you're right. Like it's like two different bands.
It is.
You know, particularly now look at China and different things.
Yeah.
And it'd be like
I can't get a visa.
It'd be like putting somebody else in. It'd be like putting somebody else in the band. Do you know what I mean?
I always said that. I said it's you know, it is, to me, I always look at it as two different things. And I even said to myself one day, I was like, how would that work? I was like, I go on the stage, I don't even know the words to half the songs. I'd be standing in the back going, it would make no sense. And then come out for the 2 bits and If I Let You Go, and that'd be it.
Brian, it's been brilliant. Thank you. One
Pleasure.
last thing, the message for the 3 boys, what would you tell them?
Say, I hope you're well. By the way, how's Mark?
He's good.
Is he okay?
Yeah, obviously, he's been through the mill health wise, but he's on the mend. Yeah, he's going to be okay.
Well, I send him my love, and to thank you for 6 wonderful years. Hope to see you soon. What are you laughing? I'm serious.
I know.
All of them.
Brian McFadden, everybody!